Welcome to Coffee and Convo Houston with your panel RE Ready for Peace, Chosen, and Minister Leroy Boyd. Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Convo Houston. I'm RE Ready for Peace. I've Chosen and Minister Leroy Boyd. How y'all doing this morning?
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, we sound like we just waking up.
Salutations.
We sound like we just waking up. Okay, so we're going to get into...
Or good night. They probably been listening and they're like, so when they talk, they probably gonna sound the same way too.
Good morning, Rochelle. Rochelle say good morning, y'all.
Morning.
Okay, so last week's show was about accountability.
Yep.
Accountability. Ro, you want to do that recap?
Yeah. So if you did not join us last week, talked about accountability. Basically the importance of taking account, being accountable, taking responsibility for something that you might have caused, something that or something that you probably seen. We part of it we talked about, like, would you tell a friend if you saw their significant other stuff.
Did you just freeze on us?
Really catch that, so there's on YouTube. We got a couple of glitches in the matrix, man.
Oh, okay. Yep, I see it. Okay, so basically in our recap, we were talking about accountability and how it is important to take responsibility for your actions and the courage it takes for a friend to step in and not be afraid to let you know when you're flocking up. Right?
Yep.
That sums it up.
That sums it up.
Okay. So for today's topic, we're wanting to build on that accountability and discuss thoughts and actions. Now, we're bringing up thoughts and actions because, as we stated last week, it is important to take responsibility for the things that you set in motion. So we're wanting to address how, for many of us, the things that we say, the things that we do, and a good chance we'll say, what, 3 out of 5, you're not walking in the things you say. Your words and your actions are not lining up. So if I'm not mistaken, Leroy, this is quoted as double-mindedness in scripture, correct?
Yeah, it's in the book of James.
Okay, could you go ahead and take us into that?
Well, I'm going kind of a different direction and understanding some of the same things that's inside of the book of James, but from a different perspective. So basically, I will be today touching on things from the Old Testament as well as the New, but most definitely just thinking about thoughts and actions. I'd like to start off on the book of Jeremiah. So in the book of Jeremiah, in the 17th chapter, in verses 9 and 10, it talks about the heart and it talks about the condition of the heart. And so this is what the Bible says pertaining to the things of the heart. The Bible says the heart is deceitful above all things. And it says that, and it's beyond who can understand it. And then it says, I, the Lord, who searches the heart and examines the mind to reward a man according to what his deeds deserve. Okay, so the Lord is rewarding, and sometimes in America, the way we think When we hear the word reward, we think that something good is coming,
Mm-hmm.
but you actually can be rewarded something that may not be so good. You cannot get a full paycheck, but you are told that that's what you reward, or that's what you deserve. That's what you obtain. Now you may feel that it got short, but you forgot that there were some hours that you did not successfully work, and so
Okay.
you took off some hours, and now your check is looking shabby, but you received what it was that you was rewarded, what it was that you worked for. So looking at it from a different angle, uh, sometimes we do not get the best of the rewards. So looking at the top of that, and then just understanding the condition of the heart. The Bible says that the heart, your heart, my heart, whether it be sometimes a child or an adult, it can deceive a person. In other words, you may have told yourself that you will never, ever, ever put yourself in a line of danger. That's what you told yourself. You're not going to do certain things to put yourself in that situation. But the heart has just deceived you. How do you know that? Because all it takes is a loved one,
Mm.
a child, or somebody of that nature to boom, you stop thinking, the heart can deceive you that quick. You rush right into action and put yourself right in the line of danger or in the line of fire immediately without really thinking things through because the heart has just deceived you into doing some things that you didn't think that you would ever really do. So the passage that we starting off with has some very strong truths and strength to what it's saying when understanding that as we live life, as we go through life, there are going to be some moments that we're going to end up doing some things that may or may not suggest who we are trying to be or what we are trying to accomplish. We may
Okay.
do the opposite thing.
Okay. So I'm trying to make sure I understand here. Now, you're saying the heart is deceptive and that can askew our actions.
Correct.
Okay. Chosen, you have something to say on that before we go into the passage?
Yeah, like one thing I want to go back to and point out to probably elaborate on what he said about reward. If you your word craft is good, you good with words, and you know the word ward.
Words are spells.
Words are spells. The word ward is something like when you want to ward something off. Like
Mm,
back like when you want to ward it off. Like what do you use to like ward off um like ward off flies or whatever. So we would say like repellent. Ward is
Mm-hmm.
like the root word ward is like a repel to repel. So so when you put reward in there, that's because what you said, Leroy, you really just explained what it is. Why you said that you won't get. Um, Sometimes people think that when you think of the word reward, uh, you think of it something that's good, but all
Mm-hmm.
it is a bouncing back. It's almost like the reaping of what you sow or what you put out
Mm-hmm.
there, and this is what you get back. So the reward, it's like to repel again, like you repel it again. It was warded the first time, but then it goes back from a certain action. So like when they say like um they say your reward is this. So it came from something. So that's all I wanted to like kind of
Reaping what you
touch on
sow.
because it's reaping what you sow. Because when
Reaping
you
what you
think about
sow.
it, it's like this is what
but
your
How do
reward
you?
is. So it's a reap.
what it
There you
is
go.
that
Okay, go ahead, Leroy.
yes, I was just saying that you earn what it is that you work for. In other words, God is saying that I, the Lord, is the one who is examining the mind and the heart. I'm paying attention to both things. I'm paying attention to the deception of your heart. I'm paying attention to what's in your mind, and I'm going to
Hmm.
reward you based upon the actions of the both coming together.
So
So go
yeah,
ahead, so.
yeah. So like if like if you come in spiritually now, let's say you having a bad day, and I didn't know you was having a bad day, but I lift you up and I speak life into you. Part of that is me warding. Part of that is me warding off what is ailing you. Part of me is warding off that, because then eventually after I speak, it gives you probably some kind of encouragement. So that negativity is being warded off. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand exactly what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah. That so I'm kind of helping you to ward off that negativity. If I put some positivity into your life, speaking to you, speak life into you, I can ward off certain things, and that works both ways. So if you got somebody sitting up there, how they say, don't let nobody steal your joy. So that's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the same thing too. Don't let nobody ward off your joy. So if you high up and you like, hey, yo, I'm I'm good. I'm good. Somebody they're hating, like, you remember Chicago off of Poetic Justice. He was always negative when he would talk to Lucky, and he was like, he said, man, he said it's all right. It ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Don't let nobody ward off your your positive energy, your all that good stuff. And so
Okay, so
when the reaction is the reward.
let's go into this passage. You say this in you starting out in Jeremiah.
Yes, Jeremiah chapter 17, verses 9 and 10.
Okay, let's go.
Well, I've already read it, but we're going to go to another place.
You
But that was
already.
the point. Uh, um, uh, Chosen, what he is saying is very correct, and I may be going a little bit too far into the message today. But that's why I thank the Lord for putting people in our life to help ward off the negativity things
Mm-hmm.
uh, our way, because while we're going through the course of thoughts and actions, we're going to make mistakes. And within that, we may not be that positive on that positive level or note that we may need to be. And something or someone may bring us down. And so I thank God that He has placed people in our lives to uplift us, to help combat the negative energy that we may receive during the working of that process. Uh, but let's get to the meat. Let me move on to
Mm-hmm.
the next passage and get to the meat. We want to really dig in to see what we are basically doing today is understanding what's going on within us on the inside when it comes to our thoughts and our actions. We know that the thought process takes place in the intellectual state of our
Mm-hmm.
mind. And we know that the heart is the things that stored up. So there are things that is in our heart that's stored up. So those things may be positive and they may be negative. They came with life experiences. And so when we are going through life and we are reflecting back on life experiences, we also, based upon the new threat, the new situations that we tend to face in life, we're going to start processing. So we're going to use the thought process to deal with that by going into our storage in our heart and seeing what we can do and how we can do differently to come with a better outcome. So we know that.
We touched on this before, where we were recapping on how we take the experiences that we've gone through. When we mentioned like red flags, oh, this looked like such and such, so I'm gonna handle it accordingly. I've been down this road before, so I'm gonna handle it the same way. Or I didn't seen this before, so I'm not gonna deal with it at all. We touched on that. So that's the thing. Those are the things that's stored in our hearts, is
Yeah,
what you're saying. Okay,
yes.
continue.
And we're going to go through life digging back and looking at some of those things. So we also talked about renewing the mind in Romans
Mm-hmm.
12 verses 2. Mainly, we quote that verse, we mainly quote verses 1 and 2, but it basically talks about transforming the way we think. So we digging into old experiences. What is the new way of dealing with old experiences? We thought for so long dealing with the process of that based upon what was stored in our heart. But now with God in our lives and with a new way of doing things, are we tapping into that higher level of thinking on the spiritual note to get the better outcome? And that sometimes can be difficult because we only tend to go back to what we know. It's like
Right.
a boxer in the ring. Yes, he fight good. Yes, he's been training. Yes, he could do the 1, 2, 3. He's ready for whatever. But as soon as he get hit with the haymaker, the one hit a quitter, he begins to forget what he knows, and he goes back to just life and death, fight or flight, and he's swinging
Okay.
everything he got blindly based upon what he did in his youth and what was stored up in him. He could get trained. So as we go through life, we are constantly trained. But the thing that we are discussing today, I want to get to this passage. The thing that we are discussing today is it can be
Mm-hmm.
confused. And because basically we're talking about on a positive note, doing the right thing. But sometimes doing the right thing don't always bring about the right action. So we do something opposite. So these are the things that goes on within that nobody discusses too much or talks about. But the Bible did speak about that very thing. And it's
Mm.
very precise the way the Bible discusses it. So this man name is Paul. A lot of us who are biblical students, we know about Paul, the mission that he had to the Gentile nation. And so Paul discussed what's going on within the heart. He had the issue himself as a man of God, spiritual minded, led and birthed into the family of Christ, was going through some terrible situations dealing with the thoughts, the actions. And so we're going to read in chapter 7, around verse 17, some things that Paul was trying to explain to the people that he himself was going through. So we're going to be reading verses 16 through 20 first. So the Bible says that uh, in chapter 7, verse 16, it says, and if I do, I'm going to start at 15. I do not understand what I do. That's how Paul started off in verse 15. I do not understand what I do. He says that for what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate to do, that is what I do. And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree that the law is good. And and I mean, as it is no longer I myself who do it, but it is sin living in me.
Mm.
Know that nothing good lives in me. This is Paul saying, I know ain't nothing good in me. As a man of God, I still know that there is nothing good within me. He says that that is in my sinful nature. So Paul was separating the sinful nature because these are the things that we reflect back to doing when we're trying to do the right thing. And he is saying that I do have a sinful nature. I'm a man of God. I've been walking with God for some years. I've been in the ministry for some years, but I still have a sinful nature side, and I tend to go back that way every now and then. And then he says, for I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For what I do is not the good that I want to do. No, the evil I do not want to do. But this I keep on doing. Now, if it if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. So these things are important to understand because these are the very things that causes a man of God or a man or woman to give up on his walk with God. Because in that process right there, the person is asking themselves or herself, why can't I get it right? I've been trying, and why can't I get it right? And Paul is saying right here, the very thing that I don't want to do, I keep on doing. And I'm telling you that it is not I that does it, but it is the sin that is living in me that does it. Paul was able to separate the two and keep going with his life for God. If we don't know how to do that because we don't understand the thoughts and the action and the process of what's going on, and we're going to get into it a little bit further to discuss the things that what happens and why this process is so it's in effect. What put this law into effect? Because it
Mm.
is on. So we'll discuss that later on. But right now, I want us to know that we are not alone in understanding that the very thing that we struggle with trying to accomplish, Paul also struggled with trying to accomplish. That is doing the best thing that he can do for God, but end up doing the wrong thing because of the sinful nature.
One moment right here. Chosen. Have you heard this scripture before?
Yeah, I heard it. It to me it you what's the word I'm looking for? It coincides with, I want to do right, but every time I want to do right, evil is always present.
That's that
So,
scripture.
yeah, yeah. So that that coincides with, just to paraphrase, um, where that comes in with what we're talking about with your words not matching your actions
Mm-hmm.
and all that. What I wanted to tell you earlier, it was like it's already in you to have those, like, I guess you want to call them intentions. Like if you say, oh, I want to do good, it's on you to,
The
might
same thing
feel it,
Paul is
to
saying.
say,
The
hey, this is
desire
what I
to
want
do
to say.
good is
Yeah, the
there.
desire to do good is there. But so if it wasn't in you to, maybe I feel like this, if it wasn't in you to do it, you wouldn't want to do those things. You wouldn't want to do it. So it's in you to do it. You just don't, either your execution is off, or no, that's it really. It's in you
Yeah,
to
your
do it. Your
execution is off.
execution is just off. So, but I believe that when you think and you concentrate on the good that it does, not just for anyone else, but for yourself, whenever you do have those thoughts and intentions, it's one of them things where you got to bolster up and put your armor on, and you got to face them little enemies and it's things that's gonna try to hold you back, and keep and go ahead and do it, because you have to look at the end game. You know what I mean? Look at the end game. That thing that you thought about, that thing that you had good intentions to do, um, what is it going to disrupt? The reason why that slothfulness comes over
You're
you,
speaking on
or that I'll
consequences.
do it later. No, hold on, check that. The reason why that slothfulness comes over you, that putting it off comes over you, is because that good thing that you want to do is going to disrupt the one thing. It's going to disrupt what the enemy has. That's why it comes so hard to you to make it to it, man. I want to go. This is like when you're dealing with a significant other, all right? And you like, and let's say, I ain't gonna say your significant other, I'm gonna say your wife, because your wife or your spouse, wife or your husband. If you dealing with them, okay, well, tonight, well, we're gonna take this trip. So
Mhm.
we're gonna take this trip maybe a month later, or that's what you want to do. But then you see, but before you start planning it, maybe it's not in you to be like, man, but how do I plan it? I want to do this. I want to do it. This is what it'll be doing. If I did it, it'll do what? It'll strengthen the bond between me and my spouse, or something
Okay.
like that. Yeah, and the reason why it's so hard is because sometimes the enemy don't want that to happen. If you got something good, how many times have you had something good that that it'll help both of you out? Something that's real good and it help both of you to strengthen it. I've always heard the enemy don't want that,
Mm.
and in my previous, my previous marriage, I was always told, say, that's good, y'all doing this, and the enemy don't want this, so it's gonna be times 10 whenever it comes to it's gonna be times 10 to try to tear it down. So whenever you have, and it could be for a friend
Interesting
too,
point.
so just like friends, man, we're gonna go hang out. Maybe that week that person did was something that your best friend probably didn't tell you that was going on with them, and you had say, well, we need to hook up and go, and I ain't seen you in a while. We need to go chop it up. And something comes along, and I don't really feel like doing that. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't, or maybe we need to reschedule, or I'm really not the person to go out, but I'm gonna do it this time. But it's hard for you to do it because there's a bigger purpose. The end game is beneficial, and it is counterproductive to what the enemy has in store. So just because we sit up and say sometimes, make your actions, we have to watch it too. Make your actions match your words. It's very important to do that, but you also have to recognize there's a lot of things that come against you to try to stop you in that path.
Okay. And that's where Paul is discussing, correct, Leroy?
Yes.
He's diving into why it's not adding up, but he actually explains the end game as well, correct? In that scripture, in that. passage?
Because if we read a little bit later on, because I mean, we are filled with the question why.
Mm-hmm.
Why can I succeed, or why am I going backwards, or why when I try to put a foot forward, I take two steps backward. Why? And so Paul, in just a little bit later in verses 21 through 24, Paul says this. He says, "This is what I find." So Paul has searched this out. He's looking, and he says, "I have found something within this particular behavior of thoughts and actions." He says, "So I find this law at work. When I want to do good, evil is right there with me. For in my inner being, I delight in God's law. But I see another law at work in the members of my body, waging war against the law of my mind and making me a prisoner of the law of sin and work within my members. What a wretched man I am." He took ownership. He said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm rich. So this is something that Paul is specifically going through. He says, "Who will rescue me from this body of death?" And later in verse 25, he says, "Thanks be to the Lord, who is going to be the one that rescues him." So that's his hope and his faith in the end. So what Paul is saying is that there is a situation that's taking place, and it's a law. The same way we look at the law of gravity. I don't care. You ain't got to write it no more, nothing like that. You throw it up, it's coming down. That's just the law. So he says it's another law that goes into effect within our members, which is why we go through these type of experiences of trying to do good but end up doing bad. It's a law. It's automatic. The minute you try to call yourself doing good, something bad is going to begin to wage war against the members of your mind. So it's almost like Chosen was saying about the marriage, about people coming and saying that every time you try to do something good, it's good that y'all doing that, but the enemy will try to come with 10 times of something worse. But with that word of knowledge, it's good to say, okay, spouse, wifey, or hubby, this is the situation right here. We was already told ahead of time that this is going to happen. Let us not bicker and argue about the money issue, or let us not bicker and argue about I stayed out later tonight. Let's recognize what the enemy is trying to do. Because he's telling me to move and do certain things, and he's telling you to do certain things
Mm-hmm.
together and understand that the enemy is coming against both of us. Let both of us come together and go against the enemy by defeat. So what can we do? What can we work together and combating what the enemy is trying to break down and tear down in regards to what God is building?
Okay. Now this also goes outside of being in a marriage or a relationship, even individual, single, trying to get it right.
Good
You
with
know?
I got this.
All
I
right.
got it. All right. Um, for instance, you know that going to the gym ain't gonna do nothing but make you better.
Mm-hmm.
Eating right ain't gonna do nothing but make you better. You know, you when you think about it, it's like, how come it's always easy for me to go ahead and
Go
hit
to
this, you
McDonald's and
know,
Burger King.
Hit this McDonald's and Burger King, and knowing good well it ain't finna really do too much good for me. But
But
I
hurt
hit
my
it up
pocket.
anyway. You know what I'm saying? But then you go, it don't really hurt your pocket because it's cheap. Now, if McDonald's
Oh,
hurts
come
your pocket, then something wrong. So like, so yeah, so it's like, so it's like you versus go to HEB, go grab you a pound of shrimp, go grab you a pound of udon noodles, and this is sit down and take the
on.
time
Ooh,
out to like prepare your
homemade
stuff and
ramen.
know what it is. Yeah, and then and sit down and take the time out to prepare it. You finna number one, you probably gonna save money, and because you probably
Mm,
gonna be able to make a lot to last you maybe a couple of days, and then you know what you putting into it. You sit there, you know what you putting into it. It's always more work. The work is always big. The intention is what's easy. And then
mm.
it is like going like so if you go to McDonald's or whatever, you already got this, man. I don't really need to be eating this, dog. Shoot, man, I'm gonna eat it. 30 minutes later, I'm gonna want to
Shoot.
go to the bathroom.
Two double
And man, it's
cheeseburgers,
like
two small
you
fries,
almost get
$6.
depressed. You almost get depressed depending on where you are in your journey. You almost get depressed when you find yourself in this line at the fast food drive through, and then but see on the other side it is it's like it's telling you, so well, hey, guess what? You ain't gotta go home and wait till no heat. You wait till no oil get hot in your pan. You ain't gotta worry about that prep time. You can go right on ahead in here. As soon as you get in here, just tear the bag open and get to your food.
The
And you
prep
like, yeah,
time is
that's
the
good.
same
That's
as
the
the
reason.
drive time.
So, but I'm saying okay, like if you, for instance, if you finna make you some red beans and rice, the day or two before you do it, depending on how you cook your stuff, you know that prep time is like a day if you soak your beans overnight.
If you
And
soak your
then
beans
you cook,
overnight.
if you soak your beans overnight, you like, okay, you'll think, well, this week I'm gonna do red beans. Then that thought gonna come and say, man, that mean I gotta soak these beans overnight. That mean that I gotta cook these bad boys in 2 hours. I gotta measure out this smoked paprika, this minced garlic, and all this. You think about all them steps. But the end game of it is this. You done cooked you a meal that's gonna benefit you. It's better than fast food. You know what you put into it and all of that. It's the good thing. But then when you sit up there, you say, like, man, I want some red beans and rice. I'm gonna go to Popeyes. You're gonna go grab some
Popeyes.
of their red beans and rice. And them red beans and rice, it's not gonna be like the ones that you cook. You don't know what really all is. You don't know all of what's gone in it. You just know it's quick. And it's like, man, I could have
Hmm.
had these ingredients in here. I'm missing out on the taste with the bay leaves. I don't have a sausage cut up in them. I don't have none of that going on. And yeah, like that. Y'all give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
So when Paul is telling us the thought process, the battle, the war that's raging on the inside, and in his end game is knowing that Jesus Christ is his strengthener,
Yeah,
that he's going to help him make it through that.
yeah.
That is saying basically, like the scripture says, pick up your cross daily. It's discipline, right?
Most definitely is this. We're gonna get into that. But most definitely is this. But let me just talk about for a second Jesus Christ being present to help
Hmm.
that over that wretched man, that man that is going through this process of trying to do good but end up doing bad and having God right there on your side. We're going to be looking at Psalms, the book of Psalms, chapter 139, starting with verse 1 through 5. Then afterwards, we'll drop it to 7 as well. But 1 through 5 says this: "O Lord, you have searched me, you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and lying down. You are familiar with all of my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely. You hear me in, behind and before. You have laid your hand upon." Verse 5 says, "Such knowledge is too uh, lofty, it's too wonderful for me to obtain." So when we just looking at that alone, and we looking at the greatness of God on how He is perceiving your thoughts from afar, He sees the thoughts formulating in your mind from afar. He also says that within that same passage that uh, He knows He has you, He knows you. He have looked into who you are as a person. So he knows what makes you click. He knows what makes you move. He knows what you are going to do before you do what you are going to do. And so he says he is in front of you. Just think about that for a second, the way he says that he knows when you're going to and when you're going to rise. Sometimes you sit down without even know you're going to sit down because your feet so tired. You sit down because your body is tired. Sometimes your mind is not really telling you to sit down, but at the same time, your body just moving into that seat. It's saying it, you do it non-consciously. And so
Okay.
it says, I know those type of moves right before you even make the move. I know the move. I've searched you. I knew that your body was tired. I knew that you needed to sit down. I knew that you was going to be thinking these things, and therefore your actions was going to follow right after that. And then in that last part that I was discussing, that I was talking about in verses 7 through 12, he says this: "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, Even there, your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light becomes night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day. So
So there's always an out.
there's always now he's always there in the darkness where you think that you are he. And notice that this is a strange verse in verse 12. Verse 11 and 12 is very strange verses because number one, he said, if I go to heaven, you're there. If I go on the other side of the sea, you are there. So if I get into any drama, any trouble, you are there to rescue me, deliver me. You are there to rescue a wretched man such as I am. But later on, he talks about doing things that's hidden. He says, if I get into the dark, it says that the dark even becomes light to you. So what I am trying to do in secret, or what I am trying to do in the dark, you still see me.
Mm.
But Lord, that He is present and there, that even as I go through that process of hidden things, He is there to deliver me when I call. And so that's the good thing that what Paul is talking about. The things that he was saying, I'm failing in this area. I don't want to do this. It's evil. It's in my sinful nature. It's satisfying the lust of my flesh. I don't want to do that, but I know that you are present to deliver me from such activity and such things. And so that's the good thing about this.
This is almost like, okay, chosen, your mic is muted. So this is almost like
Yeah, I know. I had
being
muted it, so it
transplanted,
was.
right? Like some people ask questions like, okay, so like you say, being in the darkness, being in a situation that you can't see yourself actually getting out of, but a way has been made for you to get out. Like say a job. You know, this job was not good for you to be in, and all of a sudden, either whether you got fired or a job that you applied for a year or so ago, they called you with an opening. You know, that kind of stuff. That's being transplanted. That's God working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay, chosen. What is up with you? Keep you keep muting your mic.
Cause I got stuff going on in the back, so I'm just trying to make sure I
Ah,
kill as much of that as I can. Yeah, I
okay.
got you though.
So,
I got you.
huh?
No, I said I
Say
got
you
you.
got
Being transplanted. What do you have to say about that?
Uh, right place, right time, being in that place. Sometimes wrong place, wrong time. Uh, every person that's in your life is there for a reason, and where you go in most places is there's a reason for that. Uh, that's pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what I've learned on how it works. You gonna work. There's gonna be a lesson behind everything. Anywhere you go, or anybody you deal with, um, it's either gonna build you up, tear you down, to build you up. So that's
I
my
think
take on
that's
being
where a lot of
transplanted.
our are. I think a lot of us are short sighted with that. We focus more on self, what we're wanting, what we desire, how we believe things should be, and not seeing the people that's planted in our lives, the surroundings we're in, the job we have. We're not seeing the purpose of it, what it's meant to do, what it's meant, why it's meant, or why it's going on. We're focusing more on playing a shell game, shuffling things around that's beneficial to us, not knowing really what we really need. You know, you understand what
You
I'm saying?
know, yeah, okay. So I have a few constituents. At one point in time, uh, they were at odds with each other for some type of misunderstanding. Through that being at odds, it's like they had total understanding that this person's intention was bad, or it didn't favor them. It was on some, man, I won't never mess with them again because of such and such and
Mm.
such and such. And at the end of the day, come to find out, it was a misunderstanding, and all it took was somebody to sit themselves down, come to themselves, and be like, and just actually think about what it was. And now today, they able to be in the same space. They're able to be in the same functions and work together to do, to accomplish common goals. I also have a friend, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people. I got a friend. A lot of people probably been through this too. Um, you might have had a friend, old girlfriend, old boyfriend, whichever may be that y'all went through some things, and maybe you was hurt, but now you come back around, and y'all cool. So I think those things they show you yourself. Once again, well, maybe we have to go back to like the accountability part of looking at what part you played in it, not always being the victim, not always saying you was the one that was right, because no one is 100% right, no one is
Mhm.
100% wrong. So whenever you realize the part that you played in that, then you're able to either correct that within yourself or correct it with somebody else. So just like I was saying earlier, when we're talking about making your actions match your words, nobody here is 100%. When I say something, I'm gonna do it, because it's always gonna be something that's gonna come to prevent you, and sometimes it will succeed to prevent you from not doing it. It might be from not doing it at that time, and it might get to the point to where something happens to you to where it take you out for a good minute, and you gotta climb back up. So nobody is 100%. Every time I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Your intentions are there, which is good, because if it wasn't in you, like I said before, if it wasn't in you, then you probably wouldn't intend on doing that. If I intend on taking you out to eat, that's what I intend, because I've already thought it to myself how good that would be. Not just a good look. Yeah, I do like the steak, but hey, guess what? If I take this time out to take you to go get this steak, then you might get the one-on-one interaction. I get what I get out of it is saying, hey, I was able to show you this. I got my steak. We had our one-on-one, and it benefited the whole, and it was a good thing. It brought us closer. And you had that one thing where it's like they don't need to build the negative part in the spiritual realm might be like they cannot get together. We cannot let the gatekeeper and the key master come together at all costs. We can't let it happen. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of things might happen to where it's like, okay, this might come up, and then you might get down on yourself. And I think we are, and I also think that we're a little too hard on people whenever it comes to that, because there's so many reasons why they couldn't hold up their end, they end of what it is that they got going on. Now, if you just slothful,
Not
eventually you're
always.
going to. But if you just slothful, if you're slothful and you like, okay, you find excuses to not do that, eventually and hopefully something triggers you to be like, man, I'm tired of taking these licks. I'm tired of doing it. I'm
But
tired
see,
of
what you're
missing
talking
out.
about is
If I just
character.
go,
What you're talking
but
about
still,
is a person's character now.
I mean, but
Speaking of
that's still,
taking
but
out,
your
I'm
character
looking
still.
forward to my loaded hash browns. Okay, so Leroy.
Chop that in smooth.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a country. But I'm just
yeah.
saying though, but that also has a lot to do with it too, because you have to actually sit and think about, this is what I want to do. If this is what I want to do, it'll be good for this and that, and if
Okay,
you don't come through, or like your job,
there's
okay, go
potential.
ahead.
There's potential, and then there's character.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
Leroy, Paul, we already understood his character.
Hmm.
Man of God, that's his character.
Hmm.
Okay, but what Chosen is saying, like he's saying, yeah, sometimes you sit back and you think about, I'm tired of taking these licks, and I understand saying we're being a little hard on people, we get too hard on them, but that is the exposure of their character by that time.
Yeah.
And you gotta
Yeah.
remember, you gotta remember, but before Paul became Paul, Paul was Saul.
Hmm.
Yes, we remember, but we can't hold him
So
accountable for what he did as Saul, because now he's Paul. You
Okay. Let's.
understand what I'm
yeah,
saying?
but what he did, but what he was, he got sick of Saul. He got sick of being Saul so much. There had to become he had to undergo a death, which is why he had to get rid of
Interesting.
Saul. He had to get rid of Saul to become Paul. So he had to. What he wanted to do was going to make him better. So he had to become another person. You ever hear people sit up and they talk about, yeah, I remember whenever you talked to me back then, you see a change in me. I'm not that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things that you wind up doing, you look at yourself and sometimes you get sick of yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
part of that, it does come from uh talking talk and not walking it, talking the talk and not walking it. Like you want to get stronger, you want to go to the gym. You start off at the gym and you start off at the gym and you start it, but you don't really finish it. Oh, I'm gonna go today. I'm gonna go, but you put it off. You put it off. You say you're gonna do it, but you put it off. Or you say something and you don't do it. You start looking at the results of what that is. You're not going anywhere. And at one point in time, you should get tired of that. You should get tired of that. Well, some people should get tired of that. You look at yourself. Okay, the problem is me. Okay, the problem is this. Let me try to find a way to get rid of this nature or get rid of this nature that I'm living to go ahead and be better at what it is. Because when you're talking about an individual too, you got some individuals, you got some individuals that are just that when you're dealing with life or like saying people need to live, you got some individuals that don't do things because it's comfortable not to do them. But then at one point in time, something happened to where they be like, okay, I'm tired of living like this. What do I need to do to change? Something happened so drastically that they had no choice but to change. And
Okay.
then you can start changing that, saying you can start changing that talk. I'm just talking and bumping my gums to actually walking once you realize, hey, it could have always been like this. So you go through a death. Sometimes gotta go through a death, and that's how you make your Saul become your Paul.
Go ahead, Leroy.
I'm gonna pick it back off of you and
My bad, y'all, if I ran it.
no, no, no,
You good.
because I can come right back off of Paul, and I also can come right back up off of Roger. So looking at Paul, looking at the definite situation, the Bible says this. The Bible says that your uh, gifts will make room for you. The Bible also says that let us not despise the beginning of small things. Let us not despise a small beginnings. So no matter how he started off, whichever way that was, he was learning and gaining potential in what he was doing, even though he was persecuting the church. And so when he became the man of God, which he died that spiritual death, became the man of God, he still had potential from when he was in his past. He knew how to move. He knew how to do certain things. He knew how to move from town to town to town. He also had courage, which is a very strong potential that he had. He was a warrior. He was fearless. He did certain things. He combated certain people. He went against the synagogue, the council.
Things that was gained and
Uh,
from his past.
he was very, and he got all of those experiences from
Mm-hmm.
past before, and so some of the things that he was dealing with of that old nature, that sinful nature, it still lay dormant. It was there, and every now and then he fell short. So when looking at what Rosalind is saying, to piggyback off of Rosalind, she talked about potential and character. So you have to gain the potential as well as become that character. Just last night, me and Rosalind was coming back from a surprise birthday party, and on our way home, an individual ringing and blowing my phone. Old friend of mine who I have not heard in some years, decided to talk with me. And one of the things that he discussed with me is what Rosalind stated earlier about transplant. He was talking to me about not continuing to work for a company, but I started my own. Let's get together. Let's meet. And what he said, a potential of mine. And he mentioned some characteristics of mine because it's good to hear from a third party of who you are. Like you say, chosen. It's not good
Perception.
for you to get perception of it all. It's not good for a person to just have their own. I'm wrong. Or I'm right. This is my. What is the next person's perception about you? And so this man said that man, you was very militant. That's a potential. He said you was humble. Okay, that's potential. That's character. I can use that. He says that you know how to talk to people. He said you'll be very successful within your own business if you cause and he kept on hitting on militant. You're gonna get up, you're gonna do what needs to be done. I didn't know I was betraying all of those characteristics. But he was telling me, yes, you betray all of those characteristics. You will be very, very successful. And he said you will be better than I am. And so within all of those things, the biggest problem that we have based upon the topic of the show, what we doing and how to get the best results at the end of the day, the problem that we have is with the last verse that I want to read as time is winding down. Is in Psalms chapter 37, and I'm going to be reading verse 4 through 7, or 4 and 5 through 7. And the problem that we have is with committing,
Mm,
trusting,
mhm,
seeing it through.
mhm,
Was on them three things today. We don't take away nothing else outside of the show. If we can commit to what it is that we are focusing in on or trying to accomplish, and we can
mhm,
that God is with us in the midst. Oh, what a wretched man I am. Who will rescue me? He's right there. He perceiving my thoughts from afar. He's in the heavens. He's on the side of the seas. He's in the darkness. He is with me right there to help me carry me through. So if I could commit my way to him, if I could trust him through the process and then set my goal and see my goal through, I will hopefully get the results that I would like. Now, within all of that process, like Chosen was saying earlier, the enemy may come. But within that, Paul is teaching us you keep pressing forward because he's still with you.
dig deep.
You
Mhm.
through those things. So let me just share and read that verse quickly. For it says, delight yourself uh, in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, the justice of your cause like the noonday sun. In verse 7, the main one, it says, be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when men succeed in their ways. Do not become anxious, do not visibly anxious and tripping when you see other people doing the things that you want to do. It says to because you see them carrying out whatever schemes that they have, you don't pay no attention to how they got ahead, what they doing. You don't fret about that. You stay focused on what God is telling you, whatever your way is. If you say, I'm finna go to the store, I'm finna leave my house, and after the store, I'm finna go over here. Commit that way to the Lord and trust that the Lord is going to take you from your house to the store to wherever your next destination is and commit that same way back and through that set goals for your safety. And so with that, God could see your goals. He could see the commitment. He could see the steps. And he can walk with you pertaining to those steps. Rather than talk earlier about being unstable, he can work with that. If you keep changing the plans up and not following through, if you continue to not walk the steps out that you set in order, you're gonna have an issue. If God gave you, rather than know what I'm saying, if God gave you one number, and you decide to go with a second, a third, or fourth number, you can have a problem. Because if you're going to commit whatever thoughts that first thing that pop up, boom, commit that to the Lord. And move on. Because those are things that God can bless. Listen, your first plan, the first plan that
That
you
gotta be
lay
an
out.
inside joke.
Yeah,
That gotta be an inside joke. Cause
it is. All
I'm
right,
over
let's get ready for our
here.
bullet points. Chosen. What's your takeaway?
Oh man. All right. So my takeaway from today is, walk the talk. Not just what it is, not just saying what it is you want to do for somebody, but the way, but like, what I call them, Roz. I call them, the Facebook philosophers and
Philosophers and Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram intellects and the Instagram intellects. You got a lot of that. They put out there what they not gonna do, and I'll never do this, and
Hmm.
and this is how I am, And so I like to just set up, say my takeaway is practice what you post. You put it out
Okay.
there, take heed to it. And part of the reason being the practice what you post, part of the reason being is saying walking that walk with that talk. You had the good intentions in this. It's going for good intentions. Of course, I'm not finna sit up and be like, I want you to put the bad stuff out there and go pursue like the bad stuff. So I'm gonna talk about the good, the good things that you say that you are, the type of person that you say that you are, what you will do. Look towards the end game. Look towards what is it going to contribute to, and what is it going to tear down. When you go to church, they always talk about the tearing down strongholds. We always want to tear down the strongholds, and those things that you gravitate towards to build up are the things that you want. What you want to do is concentrate on the end game, concentrate on the award. The award of it is making a better surround, making the space around you better. It could be a better you, and a better you. I'll just say it starts with me. It betters me, and a better me can sometimes make another person see that they can be better. So if a better me can make a better you, then a better you and me can make a better we. And that is like the ultimate taking down of a stronghold right there. So that's my takeaway from it today.
Okay. And Leroy?
No, I agree with Joe. Pretty much once again, committing your way to the Lord. And there is nothing wrong with committing people in your life to the Lord. If the Lord has blessed you with people and put people in your path and put people in your way. Bless them by taking them before the Lord as well. So as you create your plan and make your plan, and if the people that God has placed in your path is to be a part of that plan, put them in the hand of the Lord as well. So that your trusting process in Him will not just cover you yourself, but it also cover everyone who is touching your life and see the things through in the end. And once again, do not fret, but be patient, waiting on the Lord to be there.
Okay. So I hope you enjoyed today's show, Thoughts and Actions. Um, as we started out saying the heart is deceitful, don't misunderstand that the heart is deceitful. We're looking at the desires of a person and the actions of that person. We're not saying don't trust your feeling or towards a person or whatnot. We're talking about the outcome of life on how we navigate through our journey. So what I'm going to say is to be authentic and be authentically you. um, don't try to copy the Joneses down the street, your homegirl, homeboys, and trying to obtain what they have. Be authentically you, and understand that where you are is where you're meant to be, whether you either are learning or to teach someone. Don't be so quick to judge the people that's in your midst, because they are there to teach you something or help you along that journey. Um, so don't be so down on yourself when you're tested. If you fail, just dig deeper the next go around you're tested to make sure you pass. Okay, thank you for joining us today. Hope you enjoy your Sunday. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Thank you for joining Coffee and Convo Houston. We look forward to seeing you every Sunday at 10 a.m. Hope you enjoyed today's topic.